Folks, I got to start way back at the beginning, at the way back, several years ago, to really give you an idea of what we're up against here, the evil that we're up against. My dog was struggling, pretty sick, and took him to a vet clinic. And all of a sudden, this is around 2022, and I'm not able to now stay with my dog, right? They want to take your dog away from you, so you can't see what they're doing. And that's something I don't trust. I was abused horribly as a child, and I don't trust anybody other than my wife at all. And they want to take my dog that I love with all my heart away from me and do who knows what in the back. And I don't like vaccines in any form, and refuse even the rabies vaccine. Here in Jersey, you're able to do that, especially if there's medical conditions. So I don't want anybody taking my dog out of sight, because I don't trust what you're going to do. And I made that very clear in the beginning, and I forced my way with them so they would not be alone with my dog. And they were pissed and treated me like a leper going forward. And I was canceling future appointments because I didn't like that, and I didn't like the prednisone that they had my dog on. I know prednisone. I know the harm that that drug can do to the body. It literally extracts nutrients and minerals from your bones, causing osteoporosis and slow death if you continue on it. And they just wanted to keep him on it. And I had asked another vet, what's it like after a dog's been on prednisone for a year? And she's just like, it's not good. And the one thing I had noticed at the time of cancellation, and even a little bit before that, was everybody that worked there had ink on their left arm. And I know what that is, because I mentioned I was abused as a child, and that's Luciferian. That's that left-hand path of the devil. No ink on the right arm, just the left.
These are the followers of the left-handed path, the word of the devil.
Matthew 25:33, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. That's why there's the goat man. Matthew 25:41, then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And these people celebrate that they're on the left. So at this point, I had requested to cancel all future appointments, and I was in with the vet at this last appointment. And his staff, because we were having a little bit of an argument, no yelling or screaming, everything was calm, they called the cops, right? And naturally, the cop shows up, doesn't check on my well-being, make sure I'm okay, just looks at the business owner. You good? It's like, yeah. And, the vet was a little bit upset. Why are you calling the cops? Whatever. But as I'm trying to leave now from the back room with my dog, he starts getting in my face, and they surround me while the cop's outside, right? So, needless to say, I get out, and now it's just me and the vet having a bit of a tiff. And the cop's just sitting in his car waiting to see if he can nail me for something, I'm sure. And as we go back and forth, I just looked at this dude dead in the face talking about prednisone, and I said, that's eugenics. And his face changed, and he immediately looked at the floor, immediately looked down at the ground in shame, because he was busted. Eugenics defined as the practice or advocacy of controlled selective breeding of human populations as by sterilization to improve the population's genetic composition. And it's done with animals, and it's really thin the herd, survival of the fittest, and kill anything sick or undesirable. And they do this under the guise of help and medicine. And with that, the cop now comes out of his car and approaches me. And the first thing he does is give me this 2-finger salute with his left hand. That again is Luciferian. Notice their little god here and his left hand. That's as above, so below. The right hand up, the left hand down, representing hell. So you get that two-finger salute with the two fingers together in the left hand. That's neurolinguistic programming of the Satanist. To say, I'm your friend, trust me, because with the right hand, that's what that means. The two fingers together is togetherness and brotherhood. The separated is what we say is peace, is actually separation and war. So when it's done with the left hand, it means I'm not really your friend and you really can't trust me, but I'm trying to get over on you. The Jedi mind trick stuff. So I immediately rebuke him, and now I snap, and I just put my two fingers up with my right hand, and I said, don't you effing dare. I was raised on that. I was raised to be the goat, the scapegoat. I was raised and abused horribly by Luciferian Freemasons. That's me being held on the left side of a goat as a baby by my Luciferian parents. That's me being put up by my family on my left knee, the same pose as this devil here, making an oath to the devil on blood red carpet, which represents sin, before I was old enough to know what I was doing. But as soon as I put the two fingers up and said, don't you effing dare, he did exactly what the vet did, looked down at the ground in shame. Busted. At this point, he asked for my ID, and I'm like, you have no cause. Am I under suspicion of a crime? I know my rights. You get nothing. And I said, am I free to go? He says, yes. Have a great day. At which point I get back to my car. I put my dog inside my vehicle, and I pull up alongside, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to give him my ID. I don't want anybody showing up at my house. I don't want any nonsense. So here's my ID. At which point he starts taking some notes with my license. And I told him, look, I support cops. I even have the law enforcement plates that I pay extra for. And this was a mistake. He's now got my information and I'm added to some list. I know it. And he knows I know. And at this point, I just get out of there as quick as I can. I'm livid. Fast forward a period of time, and I'm going through some excruciating pain, at which point I got to get to the hospital. I need relief. I don't like to go. I don't trust anybody. And I had to go. I was in absolute agony. And upon arrival to the ER, the first question I'm asked is, what's your religion? I said, what? What does that have to do with anything? If you're asking if I have any exemptions or things that I will not allow based on my religion and my religious beliefs, that's fine. But to just point blank ask my religion, there's no place for that. Anyway, we get through it. I tell him my religion and get to the hospital bed. I tell him I've got a condition. This causes me pain when it flares up. This is what it is. I just want to get an MRI so we can see if any further damage has been done. And all I want is pain medication to get me through this. As mentioned before, I trust no one, let alone doctors or vets. And I was in so much agonizing pain. It felt demonic, and I had no choice. I would prefer death than this.
What you think of as pain is only a shadow. Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you. I am pain.
The only person that described this correctly was Ozzy Osbourne in an interview.
3 months I was in absolute diabolical agony. Everybody thought I was going to die, you know. To be honest with you, the way I felt, death would have been a welcome gift. So, I haven't been pain-free in 3 years. It's just, I'm burdened to my wife. I've never been like this in my life.
And that's the only reason I was there. It was that bad. And here's where it gets interesting and scary. I'm in my hospital bed in the emergency room, got the IV in, and I was clear in stating I want nothing but an MRI and something to help me with the pain. Period. Nothing else. I began to notice the night staff was having their way with me. They would show up well over an hour and a half late for the administration of my pain medication, causing horrible misery and knowing what they were doing. And when I confronted the nurse, I get, the 666 hand sign saying I have 6 other patients. And not only that, when I was due at night for my pain medication, I got bum rushed by a whole bunch of nurses. Everybody talking to me, clamoring just to cause confusion, at which point they left, and I realized they never gave me my med. They never gave me my pain medication. That's one of their key things, cause confusion. Now, I've been there for a couple days getting messed with, and they're not giving me enough medication for the pain, just keeping me enough to keep me doped up and lying in there miserable, and I'm waiting just for an MRI. And at this point, one of the nurses comes in, and she's giving me something outside of my pain medication. She injects me with something and tells me, oh, that was a steroid. I'm like, all right, and I reiterated, I do not want anything but pain medication and an MRI so I can get out of here. And at this point, one of the nurses comes in with a needle, puts it in my IV, and withdraws a little blood. I said, what is this? She says, oh, sometimes they dry up. I'm checking to make sure it's okay. Then I get my pain medication, but I realized she just walked away with some of my blood and a needle. And later on that night, like in the middle of the night, that same nurse is back that took the liberty of giving me a steroid. However, this time she's injecting me in my right shoulder. And now this is middle of the night, it's dark. She's there pricking me in the shoulder with a perfectly good IV in my left arm. I say, what is this? This is an anti-inflammatory. Which was nonsense, because by the time I woke up, I was sick as a dog. I told them repeatedly, I want nothing but something to help me with the pain. I want my MRI. I want to go home. And they took liberties repeatedly. And this time, after you have somebody take a little bit of my blood, you come back jacking me in the shoulder with something that makes me so sick, so fast. Within, I'd say, 6 hours, my voice was gone. And I had never had anything come at me so fast and so hard in terms of a sickness or illness or flu or anything in my entire life. And in the morning, another nurse comes around asking me what I'd like to eat the next day. This is the 3rd day I've been here waiting on an MRI. What is going on? You're neglecting me with my pain medication, you're having your way with me, and you've injected me now with something that made me horribly sick, and it keeps getting worse. At which point, I jump up, my wife's there, I'm like, I'm out of here, this place is evil, I'm gone. And I ran out of there for my life. So now I'm at home, and not only am I writhing in agony, but I keep getting sicker by the minute. At which point I remembered, and thank the Lord I had this, I remembered I had chlorine dioxide. And this is a water purifier, and your body's basically 80% water, 70-80% water. And it's used if you're in nature and there's no water and you've got to get like pond scum water. You can add it to it and safely drink it. And I had a shot glass of water and I dumped in, I'd say, 3 tablespoons. I mean, I did a lot. At which point, whatever they injected me with went away as quick as it came on. It literally, I felt it leaving. It was squeezing the life out of my throat and like my voice, and it was like a fist that was letting go and then receding back to the right side. So they clearly injected me in something coming from the right shoulder. So now I'm no longer sick, but I'm in agony. At which point, after a few days of this crazy, demonic, diabolical agony, I said, screw it, I gotta go to the hospital. I need something for the pain. This was that bad. After that experience, I said, we're going to a different hospital now. And once again, checking into the ER, and getting my bed, I'm screaming for a nurse because nobody's coming to give me my pain medication. The nurse comes in screaming at me, waving the 666 hand sign, saying, I have 6 other patients. You will not, blah, 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 blah. At which point I pop and I just jump up and left, terrified that another attempt was going to be made on my life. And I had gotten there at night, so this was again night staff. Literally, I felt as if I was fleeing for my life, and later I'd be justified. And exactly that's what I was doing. And folks, the whole reason I went through this agonizing pain in the first place is I had been saved by the Lord. I had prayed for and received a heavenly name. I saw Jesus multiple times. He came to me in my dreams, and it was always the same man. And I began to serve myself and stopped reading and pursuing and being on fire for the Lord. And salvation, once saved, always saved, not necessarily the case, especially if you have a calling. And I was failing to live up to that, at which point I was punished. I was delivered into the hands of the enemy. And during this time, I wound up doubling down and trying to get back in the graces of the Lord. And I remembered I had been given a heavenly name, and I changed my name during all this agony of months and months and months. And if we read in Revelation 2:17, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it. And I forgot that part. And in my dream, he said that was supposed to be a secret. But he followed it up with something else. We have a new neighbor down below. The old neighbor had just sold the house to a military guy. And he tells me, that's CIA down there. He gave me a warning. This message was delivered with biblical truth that I had forgotten. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I had read Revelation 2:17 and went, oh wow, that dream's real. This was supposed to be a secret. Meaning, he told me both things, knowing I would find this in the Bible, and that this dream wasn't just random. That was CIA that moved in at the bottom of the hill next door. And armed with that information, my wife and I stopped by to introduce ourselves and pay a visit. At which point I introduced myself and introduced my wife. We exchanged names. And he and his wife 3 times asked me to repeat my name. What is your name? What is your name again? What is your name again? We were there 10 minutes. They clearly remembered my wife's name. They didn't ask her once. They knew what my name was and were here to find out why I wasn't dead. A few months later, I hear screaming down at the bottom of the hill in the middle of the night, and there's no cars there. So I think it's some punks in the neighborhood. I go down screaming, hey, what's going on? And it's him. He's screaming for his dog. Anyway, we get into a conversation, and I told him, I know you're CIA. He gets upset. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. At which point I tell him, you asked my name 3 times, you and your wife. That's because you knew what my name was prior to what I had changed it to, and were shocked to find I'm delivering a different name. again puts his head down. And I go on to tell him about how, look, an attempt's already been made on my life, pal. Right? In the hospital. He goes, I said, they nearly killed me. And they tried to kill me. And he screams at me, how did you do it? I'm like, that's what you're here for. You want to find out why I'm not dead. So I told him, look, I'm nobody special. I use chlorine dioxide. And he nods his head like, gotcha. Okay? And I told him, look, you're not good at your job. We amicably shook hands, went our separate ways, but undeniably, I know this is CIA down there moving in next door. So this is all connected is my point. Going back to the cop who took my information, connected to the hospital. Okay? If you get your hands on him, get rid of him. He knows too much. And they even billed me for an MRI I didn't get. Thinking I'd be dead, who's going to care? Right? And this guy's here yelling, how did you do it? Normal person, if they said they try to kill me in the hospital, would be like, you're freaking crazy. Not this dude. He knew darn well. And screamed at me, how did you do it? At which point I begin posting my videos trying to warn people about the danger in this world and what's going on, and my truth being raised by Luciferians, and my warning of what's to come. By the mailbox is left a book. P is for peril. And peril is exposure to the risk of being injured, destroyed, or lost. Danger. Something that imperils or endangers. To expose to danger. That's a clear threat. And folks, I'm not going to say there aren't good people out there. From veterinarians to law enforcement to doctors and nurses. There are. However, I've experienced the worst of the worst. Multiple times. Just as good doctors and good nurses sign up to help people, there are evil doctors and evil nurses that sign up to hurt people and kill them if possible. It's all over YouTube. There are entire playlists of nurse after nurse, doctor after doctor, serial killers. Not to mention those that just straight up get off on abusing patients. The elderly, the young. There are sick people out there with licenses to quote unquote help people. Check out the Netflix movie The Good Nurse.
Yeah, her death. It was sudden.
Mind taking a look at this?
The insulin in her system, it's a double medication error, which is really rare.
We understand that you work with a Charlie Cullen. Could he be involved in this?
Do you remember working with someone named Charlie Cullen? Yeah. There was a rumor about him. They found insulin in a dead guy's saline bag.
He's be killing people without ever touching them. He's gonna get a new job, and it's all gonna continue.
I hope you guys can hear me. He's walking right now. Hey!
So folks, that's my story. And we'll see what comes next after putting this video out there. Just know if you're ever in the hospital, first off, I wouldn't even go. Unless it's like a triage situation. You know, I need to stop the bleeding. I have a broken bone. I need a cast. I need a dislocation to be reset. Other than that, I'm not going. And I'm never getting checked in. Stitches, cast, that kind of thing, that's it. But if you're ever stuck in there, you need to look out for these signs. And if they keep you there longer than you should be by several days, there's a reason for that. Trust your gut, listen to the Lord. And I pray you take this warning very seriously. I don't know if this goes back to when the police initially took my information outside of the veterinary clinic, whether this had related to me telling them my religion or both. But assuredly, the hospital communicated to the CIA, who's keeping a very close eye on me. So with this message being delivered, I pray in Jesus Christ's name, you stay safe, you protect your family. In Jesus Christ's mighty name, bless you all.